Hello and good morning. It is Monday morning. It is the May 30th, and today we're in Chronicles chapter 22 through 25, Psalm 78, and Romans 5. So in 1 Chronicles chapter 22, we see something kind of interesting happen. We see God tell David no, which is fascinating because he was God's chosen. He was the man after God's own heart, but we see God tell him no. Because what David wanted to do in this chapter was he wanted to build a house for the Lord that was grand, spectacular, and magnificent. And he did all of the things to prepare for it. He got iron, he got gold, he got fine woods, he collected all of these wonderful things to build this magnificent, gorgeous house for God. So that way, by the time his son Solomon was on the throne, there would be this beautiful temple for Solomon to do worship in and to do these things. And so as he was getting ready to build it, God came to David and said, sorry, you're not going to be the one to build my temple. Which arguably, and understandably, made David kind of a little like, why? And God's response was, you have shed too much blood and you are a warrior king, not a priestly king. And that is what your son will be when he becomes the throne. He will be one of peace and one of wisdom. And he told David no, because David was the one who got to lay the foundation and make all of the preparations for his son to do the cool things. And that is sometimes what happens to us in life, where we want to do these cool and awesome things for God, and we will go and we will get things ready, we'll prepare things, we'll do all these things, and then God comes and tells us no, that we're not the ones who are going to get to do what we expect us to do, or what we want to do. We are sometimes the foundation layers for the ones to come after us. Sometimes it is you having that conversation with one of your coworkers or classmates or some random guy that you met in the grocery store line while waiting for the cashier. And you are the one who gets to talk to them about Jesus, but you don't ever actually get to see any fruits about it because they either brush you off or they go, yeah, no, sure, whatever, that's fine. Please just stop talking to me about this, whether it be a relative or whoever may be. Sometimes that is the seed and in the foundation that is laid, and you don't get to see the fruits of it, but you run into them years later and they go, man, if you hadn't had that conversation with me, I don't know if I would have ever continued looking into Jesus, because then I met my wife, or I met this pastor, or I met this new friend at work, or someone else who loved Jesus, and they got to build the relationship better with God for me, or they are the ones who got to see the harvest. Sometimes you are just the seed sower and you don't get to see the fruits of the seeds. Very much so like how David was the one who gathered all of the materials for the temple to be built, but he didn't get to build the temple. It was his son. So the temple materials sat for an extended period of time, but by the time his son Solomon came onto the throne, the preparations were made and the temple was ready to be built by the king who was going to be a king that led by example and led with wisdom. And so when you go about life, keep in mind that sometimes you weren't always going to get to see the victories of talking to someone about Christ or sharing the good news with them. And sometimes you're just going to be the one laying the foundation for those to come in the future. And that's an okay thing, because we need people to come in and do the dirt work. We need people to come in and do the prep work in order to have their hearts be ready for whoever God has planned to grow the seed and to grow their faith in Him. And sometimes that's the harder thing to do, but it's just as necessary. So don't be discouraged if the conversations that you may be having with a relative, coworker, classmate, whoever it is that you are having that conversation with, of that Jesus is the Son of the living God, and He came and died for us, and you don't see any fruits come from it. God can be working in their hearts in so many other ways that we don't see, and we may never see the fruits of the hard work He put in. But it's something we are all called to do. And so don't be discouraged. Keep doing good work and laying the foundation for God to work mighty things in everyone's lives around you. But until next time, church, you are sent.